Welcome everyone to our webinar previewing Turnitin's integration with Microsoft Teams. I'm Betty and I am a product manager here at Turnitin and I will be your host today. I would like to introduce you to the other speakers. I have my colleagues Dan and Jake here who are product managers at Turnitin, and we also have our special guest Justin Chando from Microsoft EDU. He is a product manager there. Before we jump right into the integration, just a couple of quick housekeeping items for the webinar. All the lines are muted, so if you want to ask any questions or share a comment, please make sure to go over to your GoToWebinar console and just type in any comments or questions into the chat box. Feel free to send your questions at any time. We do have time at the end for Q&A, but I will be surfacing questions throughout, and also will be answering your questions within the chat as well. The webinar recording will be available afterwards. We will email that to you. And with that, I'm just going to talk through the agenda really quickly. So we're just going to have first an overview of Turnitin and Microsoft Teams. Then we'll talk really briefly about our partnership, and then Justin will do a demo of the integration, and then we'll end with some time for Q&A. So now I'm going to hand it over to Dan, who will talk more about Turnitin.
Thanks very much, Betty. Hi, everyone. Just a quick introduction. My name is Dan. I'm a product manager in our academic integrity team, and I specialize in integrations at Turnitin. So just a brief background on Turnitin for those who don't know. Turnitin's provided solutions to help aid and uphold academic integrity and teaching standards for around 20 years now. We offer the most comprehensive similarity check service on the market to help combat plagiarism. And we have the largest collection of internet sites, publications, and student-submitted work in this market as well. We're trusted by over 75% of the top 100 universities in the world, as ranked by Times Higher Education. And we have a high adoption rate within Europe as well. And we work with a lot of prestigious universities, including Oxford, Cambridge, and University of Manchester. And a little bit about the company as well. So if you can tell by my accent, I'm based out of the Newcastle office in the UK, but we also have offices in California, Melbourne, Mexico, and India. So we have quite a global footprint. And I'm just going to hand over to Justin now to give a quick intro to Microsoft Teams.
Thanks, Dan. Hey everyone, Justin Chando, Principal Product Manager on the Microsoft Education team, building Microsoft Teams for EDU. I'm really excited to share what Teams is all about, especially with the way we worked with our friends at Turnitin. If you don't know Teams, Teams is the hub for learning and collaboration in Microsoft EDU. It really enables teachers to organize classrooms and assignments in a single digital hub. But it's also a great place for communication and collaboration, for teachers to work with other teachers, and for staff to streamline communication across a school, a college, a university, or a district. So everything comes together with Teams, and I'm really excited to share more about what we've done with our friends at Turnitin, specifically in that assignment and grading workflow in a class team. So let's dive in.
Well, thanks, Justin. I'm going to talk a little bit about our partnership. So for those of you who were able to make it to the BET conference in London earlier this year, or who are active on Twitter and other social media platforms, you'll have seen an announcement from both Turnitin and Microsoft about our exciting partnership. This has been a few months in the making. We've been working behind the scenes to deliver an integration within Microsoft Teams that really helps students grow as writers and critical thinkers, as well as empowering teachers and students to seamlessly access Turnitin within their Microsoft Teams instance. This is something that's been in demand for quite some time, and we're really excited to be showing you a demo of that today. And this is the start of our partnership. So we're starting out with the similarity service that Turnitin offers, and we hope to grow that into feedback tools and grading tools alongside Microsoft Team as well. A few practical details. So we are starting with a closed beta program. We expect to start that in the next few weeks. And really that's all about getting feedback from an initial set of customers. We're going to use that to help drive any development and feature requests that come through. What that will also help us to determine is, what is our release plan, and when can we make this available to customers. So we don't have a date for you today, but stay tuned. That will be coming pretty soon. And just a final practical one, it got asked on the webinar earlier. You do need a Turnitin license to use this. It doesn't come as part of Teams. And again, we'll have more information following this webinar and in future dates about that too.
Yeah, Dan, I mean, just one thing to add there, I think, is as we've worked with so many educators and students around the world at Microsoft, what we found is just so much customer feedback of asking for Turnitin integrated into Teams, and that's really what we're responding to here. So it's been great to just get so many requests and be able to respond to real educator feedback like this.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so I think we're going to go straight to a live demo now. So Justin's going to take us through the Teams platform, including the assignment creation flow. I'll dive in and talk a little bit about what the Turnitin viewer shows, and we'll take you through what the student sees as well.
Let's do it. I'm excited. So I have Teams, and it should come up for all of you on your screens as well. Now, basically, I am a teacher on Teams. I've got a really cool demo here. And to give you an overview of Teams, if you just don't, if you haven't experienced it yet, if you haven't been able to check it out yet, Teams is that place for class collaboration as well as staff and PLC communication. Like I mentioned before, the really easiest way to see how we've customized Teams specifically for education is right at the beginning. When you create your first team, you get presented with these different team types. The class experience, which of course comes with a great space for rich academic discussions, as well as the built-in OneNote class notebook, completely integrated into the class team, and creates a personal note-taking space for each and every one of your students. Also included in the class team is that assignment and grading workflow that I'll give you a demo of in just a minute. The PLC team, just think of teachers working with other teachers and building that collective shared efficacy and aligning on a common goal, which we know is so impactful on education today. Enabling teachers to work with each other. Imagine a science department all aligning on resources and how they approach engagement with their students. That's what the PLC team really provides. And the staff team, think of a school leader connecting with all of her faculty in one space, built in with the OneNote staff notebook, which helps distribute resources and content to all of her staff. And that anyone team, school groups, student activity groups that can get together, or any other types of groups that want to collaborate, that's what the anyone team can do. So all of that, we've worked hand in hand with educators all over the world to build these custom experiences right on top of the Teams platform. So Teams for Education, free for every student and teacher in the world, and you get all these features just built right in. So that's where we'll start. We'll go right into the class team specifically. And along the top, you'll see these tabs, files, class notebook, and assignments is really where teachers can customize these learning activities and share them directly with their students. Let's dive into creating a brand new assignment. Right on the bottom here, I come to create, and it gives me a couple of options. One is a new assignment. Another is an integrated quizzing experience, which has Microsoft Forms quizzes with auto-graded assessments built right in. The other is reusing assignments from existing assignments, which is a really cool way to build out all your assignments and use them over and over again. Just start here with this blank new assignments area, and this is where I can customize that learning activity and specify exactly what I want my students to do and work on. So really easy for me to come in here, give it a title, and maybe we'll make this an oceans essay. I can categorize it, maybe just make it a project or maybe an essay. Let's make it an essay. give it some instructions with some rich text and details, lists, numbered lists, however you want. What's nice about the Teams assignment experience is that it integrates lots of other apps and resources across your Microsoft 365. So OneDrive is completely integrated here. I can pick from any of my documents and resources. So let's pick this Oceans assignment Word document. What's nice about doing this is I can really easily give students their very own copy of this document to work on all by themselves. So in the background, Teams will make a copy of this Word document for each and every one of your students, and they come to Teams, they see their assignment, they see the attachment, they work on it directly inside Teams, no downloading it to some cluttered downloads folder or anything, and work on it directly in line. And what's nice is teachers can see that same exact document in real time and comment and leave feedback iteratively with their students. Also have an opportunity to bring other content. Maybe this was a presentation I wanted to integrate PowerPoint in here and create a new PowerPoint really easily, right from scratch as a template. So those are some of the things that you can customize in the assignment experience. On the top right here, you can set a due date. Let's make it due next Friday. And some other options, like I can schedule this assignment to post at a later date, which is great if you're maybe lesson planning over the weekend and you want assignments to go out right at the beginning of class on Monday. Other things here are actually turning on points. And this magical area right here, which is brand new, is that Turnitin selection. And Turnitin just integrated into the experience as just another one of these settings options. I think that's what's really cool about this integration is that it just feels so native and built into the experience. And teachers don't have to log in, they don't have to do anything with Turnitin. All they need to do, if they want the submissions from students to get checked and analyzed for similarity by Turnitin service, is just toggling this to yes. And it says documents turned in will be checked with Turnitin. So I think that integrated experience is so powerful, and not having to teach teachers another place to go or having another login to get to another service. Integrating it all into Teams, it just makes a ton of sense. Now, before we send out this assignment, I can also specify the grading criteria with integrated rubric grading. And I'll do that really quickly because I have a pre-built rubric kind of ready to go. And one of these will totally work well. Let's just hit this oral presentation rubric, for example. And this allows me to customize exactly how I want to assess my students. And then what's nice is I attach these criteria of with this rubric right to the assignment when it goes out, which allows students to see exactly how they'll be assessed before they even start working on their assignment. A lot of teachers we talk to actually build their rubrics with their students in the front of the class and have this rubric builder open at the front of the screen in the front of the room and ask their students, how would you assess yourselves on this work? And that really helps build ownership and agency over the types of work that they're doing. And it turns out if students are thinking deeply about how they're going to be assessed on something, they tend to do much higher quality work. So we're really excited to have those types of experiences integrated into Teams as well. And I'll show you how you can grade with a rubric and see that Turnitin similarity score when it's ready to review your students.
Just a quick question here, Justin and Dan. There's a question from Paul about the Turnitin settings. Like, are there going to be other Turnitin settings? For example, like being able to store student papers into the global repository. Can you guys comment on that?
Sure. Yeah. So we're starting out super simple, as you can see. So. We've gone with like a real blank slate. The beta and these webinars are really an opportunity for us to get feedback from customers on what is important. We don't want to overload you with settings either, and as you can tell from Microsoft Teams, it is they only have settings there that are super important to users. So yeah, always welcome any feedback on settings that are important to users, and I'm sure we'll be adding some as the as time goes on.
Yeah, thanks for the feedback, Paul. So that's creating the assignment. I'm actually going to jump over to a student and show you how it looks like once you actually assign that out to students. So let me go to another screen, and Dan, just let me know if you see my new screen here.
Yep. I can see Algebra 1, you're just hovering over there.
Perfect. So this is the student view, and it looks very similar to the teacher view, but you can't create new assignments on the student area. I'll go to this assignment, that Ocean's essay, and Adele here actually already turned it in, and you can see what the student sees. She comes to Teams assignments, she gets the instructions, can see any reference materials that were attached here, and the Your Work area, My Work, where I can one-click open up the Ocean's assignment, work on it directly inside Teams in Word Online, just totally integrated. And what you can see here is students are able to see in advance, even before they turn it in, that Turnitin is enabled. So documents turned in will be checked with Turnitin. And we think that's really valuable, just to increase transparency and make students think about authentic writing when they're building their work. And that's one thing that they're thinking about. The other thing is, like I mentioned, that assessment of the rubric itself and how they'll be assessed. And like I mentioned, you can see that this assignment has 100 points possible. It's going to be assessed based on this criteria.
And what's really neat about this workflow is, if you're a university that really, prides themselves on offering formative feedback to students as they're working, they can see all of this as they submit. So if they submit before the due date, they'll be able to get a Turnitin similarity score and, learn from that before their next submission comes in. So that's that's a really neat feature to have as part of this integration.
Yeah, exactly, Dan. And Teams is built in that framework as well, where we really encourage that iterative feedback. And you can submit multiple times on Teams as a student. And with that rich feedback capability on the teacher side, where they can view as the students working on their assignment in Teams, and leave inline comments and feedback along the way to help them build great work. So all of that is built in. We've worked with a ton of teachers that have told us how important that formative feedback is, and it's really cool how it all comes together, especially with Turnitin. So you can see on that assignment, I've actually turned this in already. Students get their similarity score once they do hit that turn in button. So you can see I've turned this in on February 1st, and it actually comes back with the similarity score. This one's a little high for my taste, but it's 96% similar. But let's go to the teacher view and see how that kind of comes together for the educator as well. So flipping back to the teacher, and now I'm back in Teams assignments, and I'll click on this Ocean's essay so you can see what the educator sees. It takes you right to the grading experience where you can review and you kind of keep track of how many students you have left to grade and assess. Really easily, you see what I did there, I sorted by status, so I can sort just by the students that have turned in their work already. So Alex here has turned in his work, and I haven't given him any feedback yet, so I'll click on his work. And what's nice is I can see his assignment right on the left, in line, right in Teams. And what's cool about this is, I don't have to open up another application. I can grade on mobile if I want to, wherever I am on any platform. Teams works across iOS, Android, Chromebooks, Macs, Windows devices, right? So this can really be done anywhere to leave feedback for your students. So as I'm going through here, I can just very easily highlight something, hit comment, and consider a transition, right? And I spelled the statement wrong, but that's fine. And you can really just assess this work and go through a lot of different student work. On the right here, you see all the feedback capabilities. One, you can see that Turnitin score, which I'll get to in a second. But two, when you're actually going through and grading on the left side, you see in line I can grade with this rubric and criteria. So it has all of that that customized rubric that I showed you when we were building the assignment. So I can go and select the criteria which I think the student earned and leave them feedback. So content was developing, 3 out of 4. You can see as I'm going through each of these categories, the score is actually increasing based on my selections. So collaboration with peers, I was well developed, enthusiasm, super enthusiastic, and comprehension, that was actually emerging, 2 out of 4. And one thing I'll give to my student here, which I've done already, is maybe ask them a question. How might you improve your comprehension? And getting students to think about why they got marked the way they did and how they might improve on a future revision or on the next time they get assessed with this type of work using this criteria. I think that's really powerful to show them exactly what they earned on this assignment and why, right? Nothing is worse than working super hard on an assignment and for weeks and weeks and weeks, a project, and getting just an 80 back from your teacher, right? How do I actually learn and improve from that type of feedback? And if we have and integrate multimodal types of feedback directly into the assignment experience, we can give teachers and educators more opportunities to provide feedback that helps students grow and improve. So the more we can do that and the easier we can make that, the better. So that's rubric grading in Teams. And you see that auto graded based on my selections, and it's right inside here. I can leave some overall general feedback as well, whatever you'd actually like to share with your students. I'm not a big fan of just leaving great job, but for this, it was a great job. It's great. Now, coming to the Turnitin report, you can see in line with the document, and if I had multiple documents, each would get checked by Turnitin. But this one specifically, 97% similarity. And what Turnitin allows me to do with this integrated experience is one click, jump to the Turnitin report. And this is going to open up the Turnitin similarity service and show me exactly in the document where certain parts came from. And I'll let Dan take us through this a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks there, Justin. So I'm going to give you a whistle-stop tour of the viewer. So for those of you who are current Turnitin customers, you'll notice this looks different from your current viewer. So this really is our next generation cloud viewer service. So what you can see here is a very similar layout. You've got on the left-hand side the document, and you can see we've retained any formatting or images that are, as part of the document that was submitted through Teams. You have some neat controls down the bottom there. So you have the ability to zoom in and out of the doc. And you also have a neat print view as well. The print view is really cool. So it gives you like a metadata section up in the top right there. So it shows you how many words and characters are included. It also gives you a breakdown of the source overview. So it's going to show you there what were the highest matching sources, where did they come from, were they internet sites, were they from another student's work, were they from a publication. It will also show you any exclusions you've got, so that once you've printed this off, you have everything you need, and you can you don't have to remember which repositories were excluded or which did you exclude bibliography or quotes. Right below that, you have the full again the full formatted paper that the student submitted, so you can really if you prefer to take this offline for whatever reason and discuss it with a student in person without a machine available, you really can do that. And if you just cancel out of that print view, I'll talk a little bit about the source overview bar on the right-hand side. That's going to give you your overall similarity score, which is the same score that we pass back to the Microsoft Teams interface. If you click on the highest source there, which is from Wikipedia, what you'll see is what we call our glimpse view. So this is really a summary of the text that you see in the matching bubble on the left-hand side, and what it matched, what text was taken from the website, and where did it match. You'll see that as you cycle through the 1 of 2 and go to 2 of 2, the document will also move, scroll down on the left-hand side, and you really are given this kind of side-by-side comparison view of what did the students submit, and what have we found on the internet that matches that. You can also jump out if it's an internet site. You can also jump out to that internet site and view the full page as well if you wish. The final thing to show in this viewer is the cog in the top right-hand corner gives you some additional settings. These are really here for the instructor to play with. So if you want to remove a submitted work, so if you want to remove internet sources from the doc, you can. And you can also exclude things like bibliography sections and quotes. This is really a powerful tool to allow the instructor or the teacher or the teaching assistant to make sure that they're reducing any false positives in the document that they just don't want to include. It also gives them an opportunity to understand a little bit more about, is it just that all of this is in the bibliography, or is it just, incorrectly cited work? The next and final thing to talk about with this viewer is it's built with accessibility in mind. So if you think about users who are using a screen reader or keyboard navigation, it's super cool. We won't demo it on here today, but from a screen reader perspective, it tells the student when a match starts, when a match ends, and it's just a really easy to use interface for all students and all instructors as well. That's going to launch out, as Justin showed you, that's going to launch out for Microsoft Teams. Super easy. There's no additional sign-on. You're just straight in the viewer experience, and then you can go back and complete the grading experience inside Teams.
Super cool. Thanks, Dan. So that's basically how it's integrated inside Teams. And, as we mentioned, students get to see that report exactly how, very similar to how the teacher saw it, right? So seeing that same similarity score jumping out to the Turnitin report as a student as well, and really understanding where the similarity score came from and how it was generated. So in Teams, when I'm actually ready to jump to the next student, I can just hit this one little arrow and go to the next one, and it's pretty cool as well. I can jump to any other student in the list. So it's really fast to go through lots and lots of students and leave great feedback with built-in assessment tools and rich, transparent feedback with rubric grading, and now with similarity score checking with Turnitin. So that's all I have for the demo, Betty. I'm going to send it back to you.
Okay, great. Thank you. What an exciting preview into the integration. We're going to do some Q&A. One question is, when will this integration be available?
Ooh, that's the big question, isn't it?
that is the question on everybody's lips. So I mentioned earlier on in the webinar that we're kind of entering into a closed beta. So with some pre-selected schools, they'll be giving us some feedback. We're hoping to start that in the next few weeks. That's going to really inform our availability timeline. We don't have a date for you today. I know it is the question, but we hope to get this in your hands pretty soon, so that you can start using it and getting to grips with the integration and giving us feedback.
Totally. We can't wait to get this in your hands, obviously. So we'll be working super hard.
Great. Another question from Scott is around whether the assignments are going to be stored on both Teams, SharePoint, and in Turnitin servers, or just on Teams.
I can talk a little bit about the Turnitin side. So again, with this all being based on a slightly different way of integrating with Turnitin, there is no kind of class and assignment structure that you're used to as of today. All of the class and assignment logic is on the Microsoft side. All we do is when a paper is passed to us, we'll generate that similarity service and pass back. So there's a couple of reasons why that's really important, but one is there's no duplicated logic between Microsoft Teams and Turnitin anymore, so you don't have any of that, dates on one side, dates on another side. It's just a super flexible workflow, and it's just really simple from our perspective. All we do is just share that score back and provide a launch to the viewer.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. On the team side, assignments are built on top of Teams itself, and the files and assignment resources are stored in SharePoint. That comes with that SharePoint tied to the team in hidden folders, and it's all permissioned properly, so students can't see each other's work, etc. So that all remains the same, and we're really just sending those resources based on your selection, whether you want this assignment to be checked by Turnitin or not, right? Like maybe not all assignments need to be checked by Turnitin. So it's totally up to the educator to make that selection, which ones you want to to be sent to Turnitin.
Great. Thanks so much, guys. We're at time. Thank you, everyone, for joining. The webinar recording will be sent out via email, and we will also, in that email, have a survey to get your feedback. We greatly appreciate if you guys take 5 minutes to complete it and to help inform the development of the integration. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.